Hey guys, welcome to a special night of Homeland where we're covering episode 5. So what was the aftermath of the bomb last week and what does Casus Belli mean? Stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
So we always wanted to open up with the Homeland theme music, and I never know how to react to it.
It's a smooth jazz sound that gets you in the mood.
I guess.
Gets you in the mood for espionage.
Okay. So welcome, hey guys, on a special night where we're covering Homeland episode 5. I'm your co-host, Rick Hong, and you can find me at Rick Hong, and I'm with the lovely Lesley.
Yes, I am Lesley Corral. You can find me at Lesley.face on Twitter and Instagram. I love hearing your thoughts about the show, especially this episode. I'm so excited.
Okay, so one thing that I wanted to address that happened last week that we kind of missed, and I thank all you guys that are watching to kind of let us know, like, hey, you missed something. And the way that I looked at that is basically we missed that Quinn follows the
stalker suspect man across the street.
Yeah, and he plants a bomb conveniently in Seku's van, and I think that's one of the reasons why I missed it, because I always thought it was a little too convenient. Okay, so it went boom.
I'm just excited that people pointed it out because I feel like, I'm watching it just as a fan, just as everyone else. I don't see every little thing. Or maybe just, sometimes I just don't make the connection and maybe I blinked and I didn't realize it was the same dude. But I love hearing from fans. Tell us if we missed something. I like it. And then it makes me just think, oh my gosh, and now it could be this and this and that. And it just gets my brain functioning again.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
It's
cool.
great to have conversation, so we really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, so okay, so it opens up tonight,
Quite a lot.
And it's
quite a lot.
Yeah, and so
yes.
we see the episode open up with if you guys ever watched the show Medium, the actor Jake Weber plays this guy named Elliot O'Keefe, and he's going on a big rant about the the explosion and how he doesn't like the president-elect and how could this happen, and
very, Rush Limbaugh, alt-right, Alex Jones feeling, a lot of passion. He sounds so crazy that he almost doesn't sound so crazy. And that in itself feels disturbing, and it feels very real life. And I don't know, what did you think?
It reminded me of when 9/11 happened, and Dan Rather. It's a 180 though. Dan Rather got up there, and he cried. He was almost crying on air about what had happened. So it's a 180 from what Elliot O'Keefe was doing. But it's an interesting way to start the show. And of course, I'm interested to see how Elliot O'Keefe, or Jake Weber, the actor, plays out. For maybe the next couple episodes. And
I mean that kind of continues on throughout the whole episode, and you see how it eventually sort of takes weight on the president-elect, and we'll get to that, but it was definitely a powerful way to start. Yeah,
and so now, of course, after something like this happens, we see, them like carrying President-elect Keene off to safety, and we find out that the body count is, luckily, there's only 2 dead, half a dozen hurt, and they were saying it's only because that
it happened during weird hours where nobody was driving. Gotta say right off the bat, it sucks because obviously, we know as viewers that things weren't, as they seem. It wasn't exactly just, oh, this guy blew a bomb. But at the same time, I'm going to sound a little bit like the Joker in The Dark Knight, where it's like, okay, 2 people died, very, very sad, but more people die in regular car accidents. And it's kind of crazy, and I feel like the show highlights like this huge reaction that comes when something is labeled a terrorist act. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like if it would have just been a regular car accident and 2 people died. And I think you see that with the extreme with the, talk radio host who's just going on this angry rant about, like, as soon as you hear that, it sends you into a different tailspin. And
It starts a mood. It starts a certain mood.
Yes, when you actually look at just like in a very utilitarianism way, it's just 2 people who died. I don't know, and I'm not saying you ought to not react. Maybe you should. I mean, but at the same time, I just kept thinking about that. Like, it was like they made it a point to say it was just 2 people. It was just at a certain hour, the body count was low, the damage was low, but yet we obviously saw in this episode how huge the response was.
Yeah, I think it's because it's New York, like this, New York, being a main target sometimes because of 9/11, and then, in Boston with the
It's
marathon.
triggers. And obviously whoever set this up knew what the triggers were. And it's just kind of, I feel like it says a lot about society, how it's like deaths in other contexts don't seem to matter as much.
So so with that, then we start into kind of the conspiracy of what's going on with President-elect Keene, and so they put her in a helicopter and say bye-bye, but then the chief of staff Rob is not going with her.
The whole thing was suspect from the beginning. And it sucks because by the end of the episode, it makes her look bad because from the view of America, it seems like she was hiding, or at least from some people. They gave her no communication. She couldn't even contact like her close advisors. She couldn't even get a working TV.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
Elect. I don't know. The whole thing just reeked. Like, I was just like, what's happening? And I feel like she felt uncomfortable, which is odd. She's arguably in the show going to be the most powerful person in the world, and she was powerless in the situation. It was bizarre.
So so we cut from there to they isolate the president, and now we kind of cut in on, we go to nice home scene, a kind of a home scene, like Carrie's with Franny, Quinn's there, and clearly Quinn is, taking effect into Franny's life.
Yeah.
She asks him, or she asks her mom, is Quinn safe? Yeah,
it was cute. Everyone knows I'm a huge Carrie and Quinn shipper. That little morning scene was everything. I loved it. It was so cute. It was just it lasted very short, but it was just a little minute of domestic bliss of oh, look, they could be a cute little family, and Franny cares about him, and he clearly cares about them. I think it was cute. How old is Franny? I feel like every time I see her, she looks bigger. I kept thinking about that this episode.
It's funny. At certain points,
she gets bigger fast.
I almost was thinking, I was like, is she a different actress? I was thinking, clearly she's not, but you're right.
There were a couple of times this episode where someone's carrying her, and she just looks way longer and taller. I don't know. That's just a side note, but that was in my head when I was watching this. I was like, oh, Franny, you growing? Or maybe you're right. Maybe it's a completely different person.
Yeah. So then next we see, Retta calls Carrie, or Retta and Carrie have a conversation, and it's all about, Sekou.
Yes. And you know what I kind of found so interesting was that at the end of it, she was like, oh, well, I still want to take Franny to school like a normal day. And he's like, this city is shut down. What are you even? And I remember in some instances where you think, oh, not necessarily with 9/11. I was very young when that happened. But I know people who have told me stories of when they initially heard about it, they were just like, oh, well, I have to get the train quickly if I'm going to make it to work, or I need to get this. When something like that happens, you don't even realize the scope. And it just seemed Carrie, who, in my opinion, always seems smart and on top of things, and that second seemed so foolish. Oh, I'm still going to take Franny to school like a normal day. And it's like, this is going to be the farthest from. That was just something in my head that I found it stuck out. That one comment she said.
Yeah, you know what? That is an interesting piece of writing for sure, considering she's always been networked in and she knows when this or that happens.
It made her seem very a normal mom instead of an ex-super spy.
Yeah, which goes along with the fact that she's kind of been out of the biz to say, or her business to, that's true. And so then Reddit kind of clues Carrie into saying she's like, how can this be? She's like, they already know that it's him, and he's saying, hey, there's security cam footage. You need to get to his to the parents' house now because the FBI is there, probably already interrogating his sister Simone and his mother.
Yes. Which they were.
Yeah.
So she gets there, and
she bumps into Conlon, Agent Conlon.
Oh my gosh, this guy is so annoying. He is like, you better tell me right now who gave you this, and I'm just looking at the screen she's not gonna tell you anything. Do you really expect her to just be like, yeah, let me tell you?
But then in that scene too, then here all of a sudden, I was watching it and I kept thinking, okay, now here's when Carrie does what Carrie does is where someone's biting her in the ass. Here's the start of, hey, I did something that I wasn't supposed to do. The channel's, to get the win. And now it's coming back to me.
I mean, obviously, but this whole thing clearly was just set up from the beginning. And you're right. This all ended up biting her in the butt. But at the same time, had I been in Carrie's shoes, being Carrie, I feel like I still would have gone that way. Like, what's the alternative? Letting what she, believed was an innocent boy go to jail. So, I mean, yeah, it's like, oh, Carrie, that sucks that you went this way. But at the same time, I was like, well, yeah, what else was she supposed to do?
Yeah, and clearly she didn't have the foresight to sit there and think to put, like, this thing is going to turn into a bigger situation.
Yeah.
So.
And at the end.
And neither did we. Clearly, like, I don't know if you guys did, but I had no idea.
I didn't see that coming. And I didn't realize how intricate this conspiracy. I mean, we'll get to it. Before this episode is over, I feel like I became a conspiracy theorist. Like, everybody in the episode, I feel like everyone's shady. Everyone is in on it. It seems. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's what we talked about with Jake Weber opening up the episode. It's just already stirring emotions.
Putting that in our heads.
Yeah, stirring emotions. So then we go back to something like Lovely again, and we actually see Franny and Quinn hanging out. She's playing a little game on the stairs, and she's talking about her
adventures
bunny.
and babysitting.
Yeah,
for
she's talking about her bunny. But then, out of nowhere.
It goes crazy.
Yeah,
it goes crazy.
The
reporters
of course,
come.
Yeah, and what happens in a crisis, or as they say, if it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah, and it was very aggressive. It escalated really quickly. It starts with one reporter, one photographer, and then they swarm. They start knocking his back door, and immediately it was like, whoa, how do people know?
Yeah, how did you get that information?
Really fast. Not only who the suspect is, but who was representing them and where they live.
Yeah.
That was quick. And they were like, there was one, I think it was the first reporter, like Quinn looks and then he closes it and then Franny looks and she's like, is your mom home? Like, is your mom Carrie? It's like, I'm like, ethics. I don't know.
Yeah, ethics, absolutely.
Stretch that
I
like
thought
a
the
regular
same thing.
reporter would be grilling the little girl looking out the window. You know what I mean? I immediately was so hostile towards all of the reporters. I was just like,
yeah, everybody always wants to get that big scoop, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, it was so much, and especially because all of this is still early developing news, and then at some point when someone tells you they're not home, but I don't know. I guess they're doing their jobs, but I was immediately angry at them.
Yeah, and so we touched on this a little bit, but then we see the president actually get to her safe house. Yeah, right. What she's being told, she's like, I need a phone, I need a TV. It's like there's none of that. She gets introduced to some old lady who I don't know how this lady's going to play out. I mean, at least in this episode later on, which we'll discuss.
They touched upon the fact that when she campaigned, she sort of campaigned on the idea of not to sweat the small stuff. And you kind of see her start to question her own platform a little bit. And did she underestimate the threat? And was she making the right moves? You start to see that, the seeds of doubt
just
in
her
brain.
looks and her acting. Yeah,
Yes,
it just kind of looks like it's brewing and everything. So now we know. So we know that the president-elect is at her safe house without any outside communication. She doesn't have her chief of staff. She's still waiting on them. And then we go to Carrie with, I believe the guy's Roger, her friend Roger.
Biggest twist of the episode. She's like, okay, so sucks. What's happening now is because I, used the audio that you sent me to get this guy off, and this happened. And he kind of looks at her like,
what?
I didn't break a million laws for you. Why would I do that? That was not me. And then she kind of looks at him with her Carrie face, like, trying to figure out in her head what. And then we kind of I feel like me start to go back like, okay, well, she got it. It was left to her. We kind of just assumed, just like she did, that it was him.
Yeah.
But now there's this big question mark looming.
It's like, he's just, I kind of just set it up I sent it up the chain, but he's like, I wasn't, there's no way that
Well, from what I kind of got was he almost reported her.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, he did, but in my head, I don't think he did it with the intention that she was going to get what she wanted. It was kind of with the intention of, this is what she's digging around,
Yeah.
And, I mean, at some point, either that was the reason that she ended up getting it, or, I mean, someone must have known that that's what she was looking for. Which
goes into the bigger, right? Which, because you were talking about conspiracy, conspiracy
the lawyer
theory.
she's working with, who knows this? And for a split second, I thought maybe that guy was just lying to her, and he's just covering his own butt. Like, oh, I'm going to tell her it wasn't me. That way, I'm cleared. I don't think that was the case,
right.
But I don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's like it's like we talked about. It's a bigger conspiracy.
Someone who knew what she needed and had access to it. Those are like, I don't know. It's too many questions. It's too many questions.
It is. So now this is where the throwdown starts happening. Is again we go back to Quinn and Franny, and the babysitter shows up.
See how quick though Quinn went into like, okay, I'm kind of handicapped and I don't have all my functionalities, but he went quick into like survivor defense. I'm going to defend this house immediately.
So do we think
it was like reminiscent of old Quinn? I kind of like that, just for like a few minutes before it got really cray.
So, but okay, before it got a little cray, right?
Yeah.
So do we think that it's because of his PTSD that it's kind of intensifying, like about his like how he handles it would have handled it more rationally, because he because like that he like drags the reporter inside, Tina Myers, and he's like, who are you, how'd you get here, how'd you get all this information?
Oh my gosh, that scene, I went from like, I just kept reacting because he kept going further and further. So first, he pulls her in. I'm like, Quinn, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then he kind of chokes her and he starts asking her. I was like, okay, I get what you're doing. It's a little aggressive, but fine. He'll release her. And then no, he doesn't. He keeps going. And then finally, he's going to push her out. And then he knocks her down the damn stairs.
He just tumbles down the stairs.
I promise. I was just like, no, Quinn, you go too far. Why?
But sometimes, you know what? She, hey,
she sold
deserve
that
it.
fall. She sold that fall. I was like, damn. She's gonna be like, I have injuries after this. Oh my gosh, crazy.
Yeah,
that
and
was
then
crazy.
Yeah, and then he grabs like so the babysitter's just kind of like, what's going on here? And he like grabs her phone and does the whole like, as every spy movie, every spy show thing happens.
Yeah.
You take the phone and you start dismember, and he's like, they're listening.
Did you see how immediately though the babysitter just went from like, oh Quinn, I don't know if I want to be, like, it was quick. She was like, I don't want to be around you. I need to take her out.
Well, especially because I think if you're in any situation, I don't know how much the babysitter knows about Quinn or not about him, but if you see someone getting manhandled, being grabbed by the throat and then being thrown down by the stairs, even I'm a guy, and even if I saw someone smaller than me, man or woman, doing that to somebody else, I would be a little freaked out, especially if there's a kid, and I'd be like, can I get out of here?
I know, and it sucks because in the moment I was kind of like, I agree with Quinn. I don't think they should go anywhere. This was before all of this. A minute later, I was like, okay, maybe she had a point. But at that time, there were so many people around. There were going to be pictures. They might have like pushed her. I don't know. In my head, I got where Quinn was thinking like, no, you can't go anywhere. This is still the safest spot. And then people start throwing rocks. What's up with that?
That was a little kind of extreme. I was like, why is he throwing a rock? But if you were saying you were a little young, I know during 9/11, when people when people really didn't know what happened, a lot of the like people work at like the 7-Elevens, like I'm not trying to be racist or anything or whatever, but just a lot of people are like, we're Americans. They put up flags to say, dude, it's not our people, like that type of thing. So
it was extreme, and I'm gonna just go out and say this whole episode though, even though Quinn went extreme. I still got everything he was doing. Like, yes, he shot at the man whoever threw the rock.
And keep in mind,
he's his own home, and someone's like invading it. And I mean, I'm not like a gun supporter, but I mean, you're in your own home. Like, you should be there are laws. You can't have a gun in your house, and you should be able to defend it if someone's throwing rocks. You have a child at home, and there's an escalating situation outside. In my opinion, I was like, he hasn't done anything wrong.
Someone I think once told me, granted this guy didn't enter the place, but someone said if someone actually comes into your house and is trying to loot your place, you have the absolute right to kill them.
It depends on your state. And then on top of that, I feel like throwing a rock is either assault or battery, but I know it is. It's one of those, like, already. And again, it could have easily hit Franny. And later, Carrie points out if he wanted to actually kill the guy, he would have.
I mean, he shot him. Shot him right in the shoulder. Right.
Stop him.
Hey guys, so you're watching AfterBuzz, and clearly
we're just getting into it. Yeah.
And we do after shows here. So For the fans that, not this show, but if you ever watched The Good Wife, we wanted to let you know that, the next show is called The Good Fight, and it stars Christine Baranski, who was in The Good Wife, and it also has the same showrunners. And so I wanted to let you guys know that new episodes are going to be released on CBS All Access Sundays beginning February 19th. And to start your free trial on CBS All Access, go to cbs.com/thegoodfight. And I'm sure we even have a team here that's going to be covering that at AfterBuzz.
Yes.
So...
Yeah,
right.
You guys should definitely tune in. Strong women, just like in Homeland. I like
yes,
that.
Yes, yep, absolutely.
I'm all about those shows.
Wait, did you watch the show?
I caught a few episodes, but I never got to see the whole thing. I always really wanted to because they had tremendous actresses on that show.
They must have had, I think Carrie's the only strong woman that I can handle in my TV show watching, so I kind of missed it. But
for me, it's Carrie and Olivia Pope.
But check it out. Check it out. So here's
the episode.
Yeah. So this is one of the most awesome scenes for me in this episode.
Which one?
Is when Dar Adal shows up to President Keane, and he's got this phone that's like, oh, well, here's your phone now, and your phone does all these things. It has all these security protocols, and then,
Suspect with a capital S. From beginning to end of that scene, I was just looking at him, shaking my head.
Yeah, he tells her, he's like, oh, President-elect, this is what happened. It was this kid named Sekou and all these things. And he's like, he was in custody.
And by the way, it was, Carrie Mathison who helped him out. Just letting you know, your friend, he didn't say your friend, but he's basically like, your friend got this guy out. And look, he just blew up something.
Yeah, without alluding to the fact that he knows that they're chummy, so it's kind of, it's and then it alludes to what you were saying, where you kind of see that look on her face or just the information that she's getting. You can see that her mind's working.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the whole thing was merely a setup to make this scene happen, of her being taken away, being put in a vulnerable position, have them literally take her off all communication, and then have her be at the mercy of what they give her.
And then she's saying, too, she wants her TV, not necessarily her MTV, but she wants her TV. And that was something even for me when 9/11 happened. There weren't smartphones.
Yeah.
There weren't a lot of accessible TVs. And I was actually at the airport when all this stuff was going down. Yeah, and I didn't even get to see half the stuff that happened. I was only being told it by people until later in the afternoon. And 9/11 happened in the morning.
Yeah.
So
I remember I was home from school that day and just spent the whole day watching it in front of the TV. It was crazy. But it's very limited. She didn't even have that at that point. She's literally so dependent on Dar to tell her what's up. I don't know. I just remember, I feel like she was probably just, again, in a very vulnerable position. That's what this whole thing constructed for her.
So here's what's confusing for me is, in this day and age, if we're in a room, what are we doing? If we're by ourselves, we're looking at our phones.
Yeah.
So she didn't have a phone, it's no TV. She doesn't have her her team around her. Her chief of staff's not there. So what did they do? Just give her a book and say, hey, Prez, go into that room and just read a book. Or is she just pacing back and forth and looking out a window?
I don't know. I'm sure she was bored and probably a million questions going through her head. And again, the attack, going back to what I said, it really wasn't that big. Was it really necessary to sequester the president? I don't think Obama got sequestered when the shooting happened in Florida.
But
I
want to think, okay.
I don't feel like that. So it just seemed, all of it seemed so extreme.
Well, okay, so then I want to think from what I was at least viewing that she was in New York and they flew her out of, she wasn't in D.C.
Okay, I even understand flowing her out. Really cutting off all of her ties?
Well, but see, that's the thing is is it Dar?
I think it's him.
It's right. He seems to be the puppet master, right?
It does. I don't want to say it's him because it just seems so obvious, but it just, all signs point to him. Everything.
And it points back to last week where Carrie and Dar going at each other. It's you back down. No, you back down. Or 2 weeks ago, you know. So it finally kind of reveals itself by Dar's like, dude, you want to step off.
But I almost feel like he did that just to rile Carrie up. It almost feels that way. And again, we can't forget the episode, I think it was the premiere, when he has the meeting with the secret closed door meeting without Saul. I don't know. It just feels like everything was completely, even like I said, I don't even trust the lawyer Carrie was with. Like, I trust nobody.
Okay.
I feel
What if Saul showed up? Would you trust him?
Saul maybe he's the only one. He's the only one, which, by the way, he came back finally.
So now what's interesting is we see Conlon and Carrie actually having a talk about this recording and the actual conspiracy behind, as you said.
Yes.
We'll call this episode Conspiracy.
Basically, conspiracy theory.
And, they're talking about the recording. And she's like, freely admitting that, hey, listen, yes, I blackmailed you with this thing, but the person that I thought was helping me do this didn't help me do it.
Yeah. That conversation between them was the first time that I didn't think he was just the grossest person ever. And I almost was like, oh, I could see them even working together to try to figure out what's going on.
Or is it going to lead that way? Right. And then he tips her off and says, hey, by the way, have you watched TV? Because the cops are at your house.
Exactly. And that one made me think, okay, maybe you're not like the biggest douche ever, even though I still don't like him. But yeah, I feel like he didn't seem like he was in on the conspiracy. So I don't know. We'll see there. But
okay.
She finds out.
Yeah, she finds out, and before we see her rush over there and says like, dude, cops, this and that. But let's talk about Dar and Saul.
Yeah. So Saul finally comes back to the States. Hooray!
Yeah.
I had missed him because I said it last week. I felt like his storyline overseas was the least interesting part for me. But he got to disclose, a couple of stuff to Dar, including his cigarettes theory, and we'll see. I'm still trying to see how it's going to tie into the current storyline, because I feel like it will at some point. Right?
Yeah, no. So that was the second part. Like seeing Dar going into the go see President-elect Keene and saying all the stuff that he said was one big key thing for me in this episode. This was the second part. Like Dar, because Dar and Saul were so chill, but meanwhile he's finally explaining the cigarettes, because we got a lot of like viewing of subtle, just kind of like him putting in his pocket and then Saul picking out of trash, but we didn't have like the big context. And he was saying, this guy supposedly wasn't in both rooms, and so maybe he was playing me. Yeah, he was playing me. And then they also talk about, hopefully that Jafidi is going to have the answers to like all their questions, and so they kind of have to just sit there and wait.
It's bizarre, and this is where I need help from the fans, because I'm still trying to figure out how it all ties in, because sometimes the stuff with Saul, I'm just like, okay, so who is this person? Again, I feel like that's not, I don't know. I don't have much to say about that part, just because I'm just like, it's still over my head. I'm trying to figure out.
I just like the reveal.
What it plays in. I liked that. I got that part, but everything else, I'm just like, Saul, what's happening?
Well, at the same time, we still like, I think we're at episode 5. We have at least half a season more to go, so we're gonna they'll slowly peel those layers for us.
Slowly.
We'll peel those layers for us.
But I was still happy that he was back in the States, because that means he's gonna get into action soon.
Okay, so finally, like now, we're towards the end of the episode, and it's pretty much a standoff between Quinn and like the SWAT team or the task force, and Carrie's like warning people, telling them, dude, you gotta let me go talk to him, and they're like, no, we're not gonna let you go talk to him, and we start seeing, pieces of Quinn, like the old Quinn, really, really, really coming back. I mean, these guys are opening up a roof, and I was thinking, oh, dude, he is screwed. And one guy comes down and
underestimate him.
Yeah, and he managed to sit there and just he's like a half man working. He's got one arm, and
that's why I'm always Team Quinn. By the way, I'm sorry. I feel like my recurring feeling about this episode is, why is everything so extreme? I don't get the whole police squad situation. I feel like that was, again, an overreaction. Okay, so first of all, they're just assuming.
Because you're calling it a hostage situation.
Completely based on assumptions, because I didn't see them as hostages. I didn't. And at the same time, he was defending his place. They sent so many units around for like a situation that might have just been like a domestic thing.
Well, I think
all of it seemed so extreme. And the whole time I was like, can you just let Carrie, because they eventually let her back into her house. But at first, when she's like, oh, this is my house, can I go through? And they're just like, no. And I was like, can you just let this woman get into her home? Why are you, it's because
the
militarization of it was so, I felt like making everything worse.
It's because there was a gunshot, though. I mean, I don't. I mean, I'm not.
I feel like that's a weak reason.
I'm not 100% disagreeing with you, but it's but that's what we do. We overreact in situations that if we're not sure, like the U.S. tends to overreact. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing by any means, but that's just even people. We overreact to like certain situations, and so in this situation, that's. They brought up this huge task force SWAT. I mean,
all of it. Like, can you guys just not send an officer to the door to knock and be like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?"
Well, but again, it's a gunshot.
A gunshot to someone who just threw a rock. All of it was frustrating to watch, and that's when I started thinking conspiracy. I feel like them sending in a task force was part of it. I was like, otherwise, to me, I mean, maybe it was just how they reacted. To me, it just seemed extreme. I feel like they wanted to send people into the house.
I think it's just protocol because they don't know what's going on in the house,
And that's fine.
Yeah, because Carrie can help.
My theory is it's a conspiracy.
No. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that I think they were just going protocol with that. But we
Extreme
see we see Peter just like turn himself into a badass until he.
And then they got themselves a hostage situation. Because he got one of the guys and
he strips him of all of his weapons. Yeah, he strips him of all of his weapons and
this is an incapacitated Quinn. And then the guy tries to chum him up a little, like, "Oh, where'd you serve?" And I was like, he doesn't want to hear any
like,
of your
"Shut up."
BS right now.
Yeah, he's like, "Shut up."
At all. By the way, at some point, okay, so they had video. That's why I feel like there was ulterior motives. They had video and they were essentially
body cam. Well, he had a body cam, yeah.
No, but like essentially get a scope of what's going on inside, right?
Well, because like they know where he's at location-wise,
Yeah.
then it makes it easy to sit there and say like, okay, if we're at like the south window or the south door, he's facing, so he's not paying attention from behind him. So they're like, okay, let's try to sneak in from behind, So it's the whole like act of surprise.
I forgot also another reason why I felt like the whole thing was more than just a protocol reaction. Before Quinn even takes that guy hostage, they were shooting to aim him, shooting to kill him. They were like, "Do you have a clear shot? Do you have a clear shot?" And Carrie was like freaking out. Like they were already like planning on like shooting to kill him before any of that. And that's why I just remember having such a strong reaction to feeling like these guys are going overboard and Quinn is still, in my eyes, like seen as like the right side of the law here. He hasn't really broken any laws. Any laws you think he's broken is based on assumption. I remember the dots. They were literally aiming to see if they had a clear shot to get him out. Before any of that, they did.
Well, because you hope that the sensible person comes. It's like I'm telling you, it's just protocol. You hope that the sensible person comes
They're about
out
to shoot and kill someone before they even know.
No, but because Carrie also warned them to say he's highly trained. He's highly trained, and the way that if he can take out one of their they're going to send like 4 guys in there, and he takes out the first guy. That's a. I mean, you see like the police, the head of the police and chief or whatever. He was like, "Get him out, get him out." He's like really flipping out. It's like I'm like, dude, he's just one man. He's half man actually. So
bad. I was so angry I'm so angry at all of the police in this episode. I was like, you guys.
So I mean, in the end, they're able to get in, and luckily Carrie saves Quinn from being shot.
Yes, that was a sweet moment. She covered him with her body.
I know for a little bit, I was a little like, dude, is this where they kill him? I was like,
it was scary for a minute. And yeah, so they arrest him.
Yeah, and he tries to, of course, conveniently as they do in TV and movies, it's like, hey, I got some. Oh, it's gone.
He got it to her.
So
he figured out a way. And
well, I think it's more like he gets tackled, and so it drops out because you see her like going through stuff later on, and then she sees it and picks it up.
Oh, okay. I know that they tackled him, but I felt like
it's just as about as he was to show it to her. That's when they came in, rushed, and she jumped on him.
He tried to tell her before. He was like, "This is what's happening. Let me tell you. There's this man." And I mean, she still keeps looking at him like, "No, Quinn, you're crazy. What's going on?" She's like, "No, he has something. It's viable. He wants to tell you about it."
And he's been constantly trying to tell Carrie this whole time, dude, something's up, something's up.
I know. It sucks when you're an unreliable witness, though, and you're right.
And then, so we see Quinn get hauled off, and then now we come back to the president-elect, and we really see what her situation is.
Yes.
So now all of a sudden she's in this place, and wait a minute, I hear a television. It's like, that's why I'm like, dude, what were you doing the whole time? Where were you? You know, were you eating a sandwich? I mean, come on.
That lady did ask her if she needed anything. She probably made her a sandwich.
Yeah. So now she knows that there's something really, really up, and she's been lied to and screwed, and you know her chief of staff is still not there, which also kind of goes into that whole thing where I kept saying, is that guy Rob the mole, or is he not the mole? And I still don't know because he got cut off from he got cut off from her. So, but we think. Do you think? I think that definitely Dar Adal is the puppet master.
If he's not the puppet master, he is doing some big, he's in on it completely. And he's doing some big moves to like either get the upper hand with the president-elect or something. I think it was interesting that the one television that she heard was, again, the crazy man that we heard from the beginning of the episode. And that's all of the information she's getting.
Elliot O'Keefe,
there's a couple
Jake Weber.
of things that went through my head. Okay, so is this what the maid's watching? I feel like it was, what, I mean, is that what the situation was? This was a show that the maid was watching, and then she was like, "Oh, okay, finally something." Let me
I don't know
watch
who, or she was like the character, like yeah, I think he called her like what? Her name was Marjorie Deal, and I don't know. I don't know. She was like just the house lady or whatever.
But I don't know. I felt like, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but it kind of made me think like, are they touching on like who watches him? Like it, because she seemed like a normal lady, and then now she's you know, feeding into all of these extreme views.
And they're trying to just kind of say like, this is how we opened it. This is kind of how we're gonna like kind of end it, or just like even with like the president, and just, you know, the whole idea is that she's, you know, she supposedly stands for all these things, but she doesn't, or she like weaseled away.
Okay, there was a video that they showed.
That was nuts.
The second that came on, I was like, "What the hell?
Yeah,
who sent this guy
so who is
video
videotaping
of
from behind the president of her getting on?
Conspiracy! What the heck? I was like,
oh, you know what? Actually, guys, it's TMZ. It was TMZ that was there. You know.
All of it, like, not only was someone recording her when she's supposed to be hauled away safely with a team of, I'm assuming, Secret Service, but they sent it to this guy.
Yeah, it's like, who's jacked up and like sitting there like taping from behind the president?
Again, that makes me think the whole move was meant to make her look weak. Like, they specifically want to get a shot. Look at her. She said she was so tough and that these threats are not a big deal. And she runs the first sight. And look, we have video proof. And then again, that's the thing she watches. I was thinking, are they trying to tell us something about like who watches them? Or did they specifically have that show that they wanted her to see while she was there? I don't think they were
that part wasn't intentional, but it was definitely.
How do you know it wasn't intentional? Like, really, they're not aware that the one television in the house is playing this show.
It's too convenient, like timing wise, for all of a sudden to be like, okay, hit record and hit play because we wanted her to see this. I think it's more, you know, it was just a.
I feel like they want to kind of break her down mentally, like have her.
She knows at this stage now. She really knows.
herself.
Yeah, she definitely knows that she's getting screwed with, and so you know, so we pretty much end the thing where we end the show with Carrie, you know, putting Franny in a safer place, and also she finally
looks out the window
and sees everything that on the phone.
She sees on the phone, yes,
yeah,
all the pictures, and then she looks out the window, and sees. Not anyone watching, but sort of like through the corners of her eye of the window.
And then that little crack,
out there.
and then the little crack just kind of comes down,
enough to make
like
you be
on.
like, are you looking at me? Because I can see you.
Which I thought was also like a great way to end the show.
Yeah.
For this episode, so.
Oh my gosh, it was much. It was crazy. I'm like, oh.
Wait, so any predictions for next week?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know. I'm trying to remember what the preview was for next. Oh, okay. So she goes and visits Quinn, right? And she sees him kind of, and then I don't know. I feel like all this episode did was make me suspect everyone, make me think everyone was shady. I'm still sympathetic towards Quinn because I feel like he's the one who kind of was the only one who is on Carrie's side and trying to tell her the truth.
You know, hey, and spoiler alert for the I don't know why you guys wouldn't have seen like the sneak preview part of next week's, but but then you see her with a gun going somewhere. I mean, this is the first time in a while we actually see her with a gun in this season because she's been a civilian and she's going somewhere, and then you see someone else with a gun. So, and it didn't look like she was going into that guy's. From the crazy angles that I saw, it didn't look like she was going to that guy's apartment that lives across the street. Yeah. So I'm curious to see what that's all about.
Few questions. So just stray observations. I thought it was funny when Carrie arrives to the house and opens the bathroom and pulls out Franny and the babysitter, and the babysitter's like, I need to text someone, or she needs to call someone. I don't know. I kind of saw it as like a little bit of a comedic moment, or like a little relief. Like, it's so intense, and she was like, I need to call someone. In my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, lady, do you not realize what's happening? Like, you're not, like, that's, I don't know.
Well, because I think it's because you're in a situation, and you know, she doesn't know she's gonna live or die, and then. You know, I think you just start thinking about family and everybody else. So
I get what she was thinking, but
and
in my
Quinn
head,
took her phone. So
it seemed so in my head. It was like a weird line in the middle. That's what I mean. Like, I get what she was thinking. It was just a weird line in the middle of all the craziness. Like, and I don't know. If anything, it's a reminder of like there's so much action and drama, and like this person's just thinking about the one she cares about. You know, it was just. I don't like the word comedic, but it just felt like a weird break in the middle of like this high intense action. And she's like, oh, I need to do this. And then she was, I need to call someone. And Carrie's like, oh, well, you could text them. Like, she still gave her a solution, which I liked. That was kind of, she's still helping her out in the middle of all the hecticness. Okay. And then I read somewhere online that when the president was looking at the video of the crazy man, I don't want to call him a crazy man, but you know,
Elliot O'Keefe.
Yes. That she was almost looking at him with admiration. And I don't know if I got that, but I feel like she was kind of like what I was saying in the beginning. You kind of label these people as like, oh, they have extreme views, and then at some point, you know, maybe to some people they start making sense. She was kind of looking at him, maybe not with admiration, but like he was starting to make sense with her, which, I don't know, maybe could lead into a prediction. Maybe she's going to change her stance. Maybe she's not going to have the same policy or the same approaches that she had in the beginning of the season where she was being consulted by Carrie. Maybe she's going to, I don't know, maybe it'll push her into another direction, another approach.
Well, hey guys, you know what? I guess we'll find out. You know, please put in your comments like what you think's going to happen next week, and we'll be back. We'll be back on Sunday again, Lesley and I. So thank you for tuning in, and see you next week.
Bye, you guys.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Really late.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.